You stutter because of the amount of overwhelm that you have when you are trying to make a video. It has nothing to do with your natural ability to speak. You might be very good at speaking, in normal life, or you can be uh, someone who is able to speak fluently with no struggles at all outside of filming videos. But it will become too heavy for you to speak the moment you show up on camera. That has nothing to do with the fear of being on camera. Like the camera itself is not going to bite you. The problem, it comes from several things. One of them is the fact that you're worried about messing up or not getting it right from the start. That makes you constantly under pressure because now you have to monitor every single word you say. Now you have to make sure that you've said it right, you got it right from the start, from the first attempt, or else you will have to film it over and again, once again, or over and over again until you get it right. In order for you to know that you got it right without the necessity of refilming it again, in order to no longer feel the need that you have to, redo what you did on camera already, you have to monitor every word that you say. You have to develop an understanding that what you've said now was, said well enough. That requires a certain amount of focus that you do not need to exercise in normal day-to-day life speaking, situations. Since you have to do something that you do not normally do in normal life in order to speak without, messing up, that puts you under pressure because now you're trying to develop a new skill, which is knowing that you said it perfectly from the start, once, from the first time or from the first attempt, in order to allow yourself to move on to the next point that you're trying to make or say. That puts you under stress or under pressure that you have to be careful of what you say. You have to know what took place. You have to be aware of what's going on. Too much. That puts you under stress because that is associated with neurosis, which is like watching everything that you do, like there's a camera watching you and monitoring you and noticing what happens in order to determine whether or not you've made a mistake. That puts you under immense pressure, and that pressure decreases your ability to form coherent sentences and meaningful sentences, and it decreases your ability to not mess up. You will inevitably mess up when under that kind of extreme pressure that can never exist in real life while speaking normally with random people in your day-to-day life. So that new pressure is new to you, and you think it's associated with being on camera, or it's because of fear of criticism or judgment. It has nothing to do with the judgment. It's not related to criticism. It's related to you being aware that what you've said already is good enough and makes sense. And so now you are allowed to move on to the next point. You have to understand what you did. For example, when you write, you go through what you've written previously to determine whether or not you've made your case, you've made your point, and now we can move on to the next point. You cannot do this while filming without, watching what you already filmed right now. Since you don't do this, you will always have to focus enough in order to determine whether or not you've said everything that you needed to say perfectly from the first attempt. Even if you allowed yourself to refilm it if you messed up, you have to know that you didn't mess up this time, and then in this case you don't need to refilm that part again. You don't need to re-say that again. So you have to understand what's going on. You have to understand what's taking place. You have to be aware of what you do and do not do. Every single word and thing that you do while on camera, you have to be hyper aware of it. That puts you under immense pressure because even if you didn't mess up, you're still under pressure because you have to understand and realize that you didn't mess up this time, and that's why you're allowed to move on to the next point or the next thing that you wanted to say. That kind of pressure doesn't exist outside of making videos, or maybe even like making an audio podcast. Or yeah, what this means is that you cannot bypass this by practicing speaking in front of a mirror, for example, or in front of chairs, or even a real audience. This doesn't go away, because now you have to understand that you did it right. When you're speaking in front of people, they will tell you if you mess up. So you relax that part. Like that part of your mind is now totally relaxed, because you're not worrying as much that you will mess up, and that you have to notice that on your own, because now people will tell you that you messed up. People will always point out if you messed up. So you don't need to monitor your speech as much. But when you're alone and filming and no one is there to tell you, hey, you screwed up, like, what's that supposed to mean? That doesn't make sense. You messed up a lot. You cannot know that because no one is going to tell you that. So the only way for you to know that is to be hyper aware and focused and like too neurotic about what's going on in order to realize when you mess up. So that amount of focus, that amount of monitoring of every single word you say, that amount of monitoring of every single word you say puts you under immense pressure. It's so heavy. It's like an elephant is sitting on your head. You literally cannot move, like with your own thoughts. You will feel that you cannot move. That is immense pressure. It only exists while filming videos. You have to decrease that pressure in order to stutter less, in order to be able to speak normally or fluently, or in an articulate manner, in an articulate manner. That's it. Yeah. The thing is, you do not need to develop your ability of speaking fluently. That is already, I hope, yeah. I hope it's already developed. But in case it is not developed, of course you need to develop it and work on it as much as needed. But let's assume that you really speak fluently, or well enough in real life. You will find that you stutter on camera. It has nothing to do with you being introverted. It has nothing to do with being afraid of judgment or criticism. Now people are seeing me. Now they're gonna comment on everything, and every single detail will get judged and criticized, and they will make me hate myself. No, it's not that. It's because now you have to be careful of what you say in order to know that you didn't mess up this time. And that's why you can move on and focus on the next point without worrying about the past. That amount of focus makes you think too much every step of the way. In order to bypass that, you have to decrease the overall stress that you feel in order to not be too stressed to speak normally or fluently or articulately. Decrease the stress, and you'll find that you have no struggle with speaking on camera as much as you do. It's all about the stress here. What's holding you back is the overwhelm, the overload, the stress of knowing that you didn't mess up, so now you can move on. Or actually worrying about messing up. In order to bypass that, one of the best strategies is to have no problem with messing up on camera. If you're too neurotic or too afraid of messing up on camera, that fear will always make you pause or hit the brakes too soon the moment you anticipate that you're going to make a mistake or mess up. The moment you think you are gonna mess up now, you will hit the brakes in order to avoid that from happening, because messing up for you is detrimental. This is unacceptable. You are not allowed to mess up. So if you thought that, man, if I continue this sentence to its end, to its fullest, I'll mess up, now I gotta hit the brakes and stop myself. This decreases the skill of your speaking. You do not need to develop your speaking skills or your speech skills in case you do not allow yourself to mess up and fall and and come back again and continue without that being that big of a deal. If every time you anticipated the possibility of making a mistake, you paused or stopped or hit the brakes because you are not allowed to make mistakes or you are not allowed to mess up, you will not develop your ability to speak articulately or fluently or without messing up because there is no incentive here. There's no motivation. Why on earth would you care about speaking without stumbling, without stuttering, without messing up, if every time you anticipated that, you stopped and you refilmed and you redid that part again without mistakes until it becomes flawless? So now you never have the ability to not, mess up. Because every time you think you'll mess up, you don't even try. You redo the whole thing over again. You will never grow that muscle. You will never grow that skill. The skill of speaking on camera will always stay underdeveloped, even if your video looks flawless because of too much editing. Now you have 15-minute videos that you spend 15 hours editing them. That is a problem. You spend 15 hours editing a 15-minute video. That will always make video making associated with pain. Whenever you get inspiration, whenever you get an idea for a good video, you feel that, man, that is associated with too much labor and hard work just to get 15 minutes, ready to be published. That is a problem because now video making is associated with pain. You will always try to avoid video making because of that. You will end up making one video a week because of the too much editing. So now you are making less videos. You are worried every time you get an idea. So now you're associating getting inspiration or getting ideas or creativity with pain because of too much labor that accompanies it, that has nothing to do with creativity or a good idea or inspiration. And now you're also not developing your speaking skills as much because now every single time you make a mistake, you keep trying to get it right from the start after pausing without you developing your speaking skill until you no longer make a mistake and stop because of it. You will find that every single time you make a mistake, you're pausing for no reason. Like, it doesn't make sense. There's no real reason for me to pause. There's no real reason for me to stop. Why did I hit the brakes, even if I didn't want to? Because I conditioned myself whenever I mess up on camera, I have to stop and repeat that part again until it's flawless. If you do not stop, your body will be like, hey, every single other time in the past, we stopped. It has become a habit. You've conditioned yourself to stop because you messed up. So now every time you mess up or even anticipate messing up, you'll hit the brakes. And that will look like stuttering on camera. That will increase your stuttering, not decrease it. You will always stutter if you told yourself, I'm going to keep speaking and I will not edit anything out. Any instance you find yourself speaking or having to speak without the luxury or the chance to edit anything out, you will stutter. Only for one reason: you will hit the brakes prematurely. Every single time you anticipate yourself making a mistake, every single time you think you'll mess up, you will hit the brakes. You will not allow yourself to speak if you find there is sluggishness or difficulty in finishing the sentence articulately from the first attempt. So the stuttering here is not you have a problem with coordination, like their cerebellum is fine, like your complex motor functioning is okay. What's going on here is that you have to hit the brakes, you have to stop yourself because you're messing up or you're afraid of messing up. So you would rather die than mess up. So you stop yourself before the damage happens. You stop yourself before you make a mistake or before you mess up. Over time, you become conditioned to stop yourself every time you think you'll make a mistake, to the extent that whenever you try to speak, you will find yourself hitting the brakes too often, to the extent that you became, someone who stutters too much, even though you have no stuttering problem in real life. The only way to bypass this is to decrease the number of editing of every single mistake you make on camera until you no longer become as embarrassed whenever other people can come across you stuttering on camera. When you're no longer afraid of messing up, you will start to mess up less often. That is inevitable. You will start messing up less. The frequency of messing up will decrease because you are no longer afraid of messing up. Since that is not a problem, you will stumble and then you will keep going. You will not stop until your mind goes into that flow state that is not worrying about making mistakes and just focused on making something impressive. Your mind has that capability. In order to arrive at that state, you have to not be too stressed in order to think clearly. So now when you're no longer worried about messing up as much, the stress levels will decrease. And now you will have your full potential to make you or allow you to speak perfectly without messing up. You can speak without making mistakes if you have full access to your full potential. And you cannot have access to your full potential while being that much stressed, while being under that kind of pressure. One of the ways that you will decrease that stress, you can start worrying less about judgment. You can start worrying less about criticism. You can start, by warming up before you speak in order to make, speaking normal, look normal for you, not something that, like is out of your comfort zone. So you will freak out less. But the biggest thing that will actually decrease the amount of stress that you have whenever you show up on camera is having no problem with messing up on camera. That will decrease your stress enough until you're no longer in total emergency mode or under stress while filming. In this case, you will be able to speak normally like you're in real life, like you're not making a video. And you will be able to access your full potential, and now you will speak normally without stuttering. You do not need to stop making videos just because you do not understand this concept. It's time for you to make videos without worrying about making mistakes. This is important, and this will unleash your, video making, this will prove to you that it has nothing to do with you not having what it takes to make videos or speak in front of a camera. You have to get over this in order to start making videos like, like it's normal for you.